Welcome back to Simple Sourdough. Today I'm going to show you how we make our signature sourdough buns here in the bakery. It's a very easy recipe and it's a good place to start if you are new to sourdough. If you want to help us out, you can subscribe to our channel and you can like the video. If you have any questions about any of the recipes and stuff we are doing, feel free to comment below and we will do our best to answer everything. So for now, the first thing we want to do, we want to start our autolyse. And the recipe calls for 400 grams of water, 100 grams of sourdough and 500 grams of flour in total, which will make a dough that is quite wet. It's about 82% hydration, but it works very well for sourdough buns. This recipe, like I said, is very easy to make and it will make a bun that has a very open crumb structure. So let's get to it. First, we want to scale our water. The water is lukewarm, it's not cold. 400 grams of water. And here I got 100 grams of stone grounded spelt. And 400 grams of some strong white flour. Wheat flour. So when I make the autolyse on my machine, I just want to mix the ingredients. I don't really want to knead it too much. So basically I'm just making sure all the flour is soaked. And that takes around 30 seconds to mix this. I'm also checking if the flour is letting go of the sides. This is fine. Then I can use my wet hand to just release the dough here. So just to show you guys, it looks like this. And this is before adding the sourdough. When we add the sourdough, this will become a bit more juicy. So for now, I'm just going to let this rest for half an hour and then we are ready to proceed. So half an hour have passed now and now you can already see the dough has a bit of strength just from resting. So here I got 12 grams of salt. I got my sourdough starter. You can see it's peaking, it's more than double the size. It's very juicy on top, filled with a lot of gas. So for all our basic recipes, we are adding 20% sourdough. If it's very, very hot in our bakery, then we turn down the sourdough a bit. If it's very cold, like in the winter, then we sometimes add more sourdough. So for this recipe, because we have 500 grams of flour, we want to add 20% sourdough. So that's 100 grams of sourdough. And I'm just using a wet hand, so it just releases without me getting too sticky hands. 100 grams of sourdough. And then I'm just sprinkling my salt on top. 12 grams of salt on top. And because the sourdough is a bit wet, it will help to dissolve the salt in my dough. So I'm running this at a medium speed. Because we are working with some strong flour, I want to go at a bit higher speed. It's also at this stage I have the opportunity to add a bit extra water to my dough because the salt will help to bind a bit more water to my dough. This is only an optional thing. You can do it if you like. So now I'm just increasing the speed a bit. And what I want to hear is the dough just slamming towards the sides here. So now the dough has come together. It's starting to slap a bit against the sides. And we don't really have to worry too much about how the dough looks like now. I have been mixing it for 5 minutes. I'm just using my dough card here to scrape off the sides. And I'm going to proof it overnight in a box. Just going to oil it up a bit. If you don't have one of these, you can just use some oil with your hand. So right now there's a lot of tension in the dough. It has to get into the box and just relax. And really that's it. So now we just want to put a lid on top of our box, and then we let it proof in room temperature for 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on how hot it is where you live. If you want to track the dough, you can just put some kind of pointer. You can put a rubber band around the box as well. So when it's almost double in size, you want to put it to your fridge and cold proof overnight. And that's it. Now let's check back on it tomorrow. I'm going to bake it and illustrate how we bake the sourdough buns. We are not going to fold the dough at all, because the flour is just working its own magic. And if we are going to, or if we would fold the dough, then we would make a less open crumb. And it just looks very cool when you make open crumb. So a day has passed and now our sourdough buns dough is ready. You can see it's looking nice and airy. Just going to run you through our setup. We got our oven running over here on fan, maximum degrees, in this case 250. You could probably go even higher if you wanted to. So this one has been preheating for around 1 hour. Usually it takes up to 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on how good of an oven you have. We got some hot water to create steam. We got some flour. We got a handmade dough scraper that we are making with some woodworkers. You can find it in our shop and we are shipping it worldwide. And I want to get some really nice taste on top of my buns. So here I got a roller. Just crushing some wheat grains. This is a nice little gadget. Also very nice if you want to eat this for your breakfast. Looks like this. So now you can actually chew it. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to drizzle my dough. And I always take the biggest parts first, because I want that to stick. If I would put the flour first, then it would probably not stick as well. So a nice coating here in the bottom. Just putting a bit of flour. I'm pretty generous with this because it's a wet dough, so you will just make it easier for yourself. Some dough on the surface. And then I'm using my dough scraper just to push down the 4 sides. And then it should just turn out very nicely. Looks like this. And you can see all the air pockets that we had in our dough. Going to put some more crushed wheat here on the top. I wasn't sure about the translation for this. Rolled wheat was what I came up with. This guy is called a roller, I think. Please comment below if you know. Putting some extra wheat on top. This is my pizza peeler or dough peeler. You can also put a baking paper on top if you want. I usually just put a bit of flour, do like this. So now I just want to cut some length on my dough, and then I can just cut out my buns. place them on my peeler. And this is a sticky dough, but don't get scared. When you're making buns like this, you really want to get the dough as wet as you can. They will keep moist for days and they'll just become very, very nice. Looks like this. So what I'm doing, putting them in, and then I am adding some steam to the bottom. And I got a tray in the bottom of the oven, and then I'm closing. So this is pretty easy. I'm just baking these for 12 to 15 minutes. I want them to be nice and dark to have more flavor. "15 minutes have passed and our buns are starting to look very nice. So what I do, I take my peeler again and I just put it all the way to the back of the oven. And here are the buns. Nice and rustic look from the crushed grains here. Sometimes we bake them even darker. I'm just going to make a cut here. Looks like this. It's very hard to cut as it's steaming hot. But I can feel the inside is just very, very moist and fluffy. So I like to eat it with some butter. And some sea salt. You can feel how crunchy they are. So good. I hope you want to try this recipe, and I hope to see you again next time. Please like and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below the video. You can also ask us questions on our Instagram page. You'll find it right here on the screen or below the video. So, see you again next time.